Appropriate allocation of risk is at the heart of all PPP projects. From the public authority's perspective, the main purpose of risk allocation is to ensure that the private partner and its investors are appropriately incentivized to provide the service. Parties need to identify and assess a range of risks, including market, technical, and credit risks. Risks should be allocated to the party best able to effectively manage them at the lowest cost. Project risks are generally allocated between the public and private parties through the concession or project agreement. Proper risk allocation assumes that the public authority will retain the risks which relate to matters which the private partner cannot control cost-effectively. A common mistake by public authorities in new PPP programs is to push bidders to accept too much risk, forcing the private partner to charge heavily to accept such risk. Inappropriate risk allocation will result in lower efficiencies, increased costs, and greater risk of project failure. Risk allocation is both project-specific and sector-specific. Let's look at an example of a risk allocation matrix for a power project. The private partner is best suited to design, construct, operate, and maintain a project that meets the performance specifications and legal requirements established by the government, while allowing for innovation and efficiency aligned with industry best practices. The private partner is also responsible for securing the necessary financing required to build and operate the project. The government should have the legal authority to execute the PPP contract and will typically bear the risk of any change in law that could erode the private partner's performance of its contractual obligations. The private partner enters a contract to develop the project based on a known legal environment at a particular price point and should not be expected to absorb adverse consequences of unexpected law changes. Environmental risk is often a shared risk and should be addressed according to the nature and cause. The private partner should bear the risk of complying with environmental licenses and permits. However, the government should typically bear the risk for force majeure events that are outside the control of the private partner. Additional risks may include land availability, social, demand, financial markets, and early termination, among others. If risks are assessed early in the procurement process, they may be mitigated prior to procurement or allocated appropriately in the project documentation to the party best able to manage them. This should result in a reduction of costs over the life of the project, with less likelihood for disputes, excessive claims, insolvency, or early termination. Over time, as the government develops more successful PPP projects in a stable legal, political, and economic environment, projects will become more attractive to investors, and the government may be able to allocate more risks to the private partner. Learn more at our PPP website, www.cldp.doc.gov.